Hi, welcome back to this tutorial on API automation with Karate DSL. Today, let's see how we can run our API test cases in parallel. I have already created more test cases in users feature, and I have also created a new post dot feature where you can get the post by user by ID, and you can validate the date created for a particular post. So if you see in local runner, the thread count is 1, and if you run the test cases now, you can see that the test case is executed one by one, and you can see it took 6 seconds, totally 6 seconds. The thread time was 3.85. Totally 2 features were executed, 13 scenarios was executed, 12 passed and 1 failed. Okay, let's see how we can run this test case in parallel. In order to run the test cases in parallel, we just have to change the thread count to some value greater than 1. So I updated the thread count to 5, and let's check how it runs. Now if you see, our test cases started running in parallel. Around 5 test cases started running in parallel when we gave the thread count as 5, and you can also see the results here. It took half the time, only 3.26 seconds, and same here, we have 12 test cases passed and 1 failed. Okay, there will be instances where some of the user related things need to be modified in order to execute our test cases. Say you have an API that depends on the user credentials, and a certain status or a certain data or certain parameter has to be updated based on the test case. Maybe a user must be inactive to execute a particular test case, or a user must be active in order to execute the test case. So we are going to update the user data. So when we run the test cases in parallel, in that case, the test cases might fail because the same user will be used across the test cases. In that case, we have the functionality to make the test cases to run only in single thread. So single test case can be separated, and you can execute it in a single thread, not in parallel threads. Similarly, the entire feature can be run in a single thread also, even though we provide the thread count as 5 here. Let's see how we can set the execution count to be 1 or parallel count to be 1. Let's take post dot feature where we have multiple test cases, and we can see that all posts by user, by ID, by date. Okay, and so for all posts, let's set it as at parallel is equal to false, and this documentation can be seen here. At parallel is equal to false. You can see the description as, in rare cases you may want to suppress the default scenario executing in parallel. The special tag at parallel is equal to false can be used. So this will make the test case to be executed in a single thread, not in parallel threads. So let's see how this affects our runtime. Already we saw that the elapsed time was 3.26. So the difference can be seen when we execute the same test cases with this tag. You can, okay, each time we run the test case, there'll be a difference in the elapsed time because it will be much faster sometimes. Okay. We didn't see a significant reduction increase in runtime. Let's move this to feature level. Let's execute and see how it works. If you see here, 5 test cases executed in parallel. And the post test case is executed in single thread, one after the other. Okay, this is how you can enable and disable parallel execution within test cases or within feature files using at parallel is equal to false. So if you don't provide this anywhere, it means it can be executed in parallel. If you provide this, it means that you can execute the test cases in a single thread, one after the other. Generally, it is better to use the at parallel is equal to false in feature level because it will be much easier. Okay, I see that there is a failure in our test case, but our test has passed. Our test passed, but there was a failure. Let's see how we can make the test to fail when there is a failure. You can see that we have called runner.parallel get class of thread count 5. What we can do is you can introduce a local variable as results and results dot get file count. You can get it, but you need to validate it. In order to validate it, you can use assert of testng dot assert equals, this is actual value, expected should be 0. Okay, so now when you execute the test case, you can see that you have received the assertion, and you can also find the location where the error occurred. And it is also possible to provide a custom message. That message you can get it from results dot get error messages. So your error messages will be highlighted in red. Even though you get the error messages here, there will be separation and the error will be highlighted here. So using this you will be able to understand. According to this error, it means that actual was an empty array but expected array length greater than 0. So let's see and fix it. If you see here, this is a location where I have added that match criteria. So data must have array length greater than 0, and this failure occurred in this particular data because I have modified the data. And now if we save it and run it again, the error shouldn't be there. So it is looking good now. In the next video, we'll be learning how to execute our test cases via Maven command line and the handling of environment variable via Maven command line.